All right, Steelers Nation, buckle up because today we're diving deep into why I truly believe Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers are the perfect match heading into the 2025 NFL season. This isn't just some hot take for clicks. This is about connecting the dots and looking at what both sides bring to the table right now. So if you're ready, let's get into it. Let's start with the obvious, timing. Football, more than most sports, is all about windows of opportunity. And right now, both Rodgers and the Steelers are staring straight at a closing window. Rodgers, at 41 years old, is clearly in the final stretch of what's been an incredible Hall of Fame career. He's chasing one last shot at glory, one more Super Bowl ring before riding off into the sunset. And over in Pittsburgh, there's another franchise legend with his own ticking clock, Cam Hayward. Captain Cam has given everything to this organization. A decade and a half of leadership, heart, and elite play on the defensive line. But the truth is, he's got maybe 1 or 2 years left before retirement. And you know what's missing from his resume? A Super Bowl ring. That's the reality facing both of these guys. The Steelers are clearly aware of this, and this front office isn't sitting on its hands. They're pushing all their chips to the middle of the table for this 2-year window to make something happen for Hayward and now for Rodgers. And yeah, I already hear some people yelling from the rooftops. But what about Justin Fields? Why not draft a young quarterback? Look, I get it. The idea of developing a franchise quarterback sounds great on paper. But let's live in reality for a second. Inexperienced quarterbacks just don't win Super Bowls. It's not an opinion. It's a fact backed by decades of NFL history. When you look at the data, young QBs with 0 playoff starts under their belts rarely, if ever, make it all the way. The postseason is a different beast. The speed, the pressure, the stakes. It's a level most first-timers aren't ready for. And while Fields has potential, let's be real, he's never started a playoff game. Rodgers? He started more postseason games than any active quarterback in the league right now. That's right, more than anyone else currently playing. And yeah, it's crazy that Patrick Mahomes is right behind him already. But the fact remains, Rodgers is the guy with the most playoff experience on his resume among current starters. If you're serious about making a Super Bowl push, you need a quarterback who isn't going to blink when the lights are brightest. Rodgers has been on that stage over and over. Lambeau in January, NFC Championship games, hostile road playoff environments. You name it, he's been there. He knows what it takes. He's not going to fold when it matters most. Now let's shift gears and talk about Pittsburgh's overall strategy heading into this season. Once it became clear that Matthew Stafford wasn't going anywhere and wasn't available via trade, the Steelers had to face reality. There just weren't any truly elite quarterbacks on the market. So they pivoted. They looked at what's worked for other teams in similar situations. And the blueprint that stood out? What the Philadelphia Eagles did a couple of years ago. They brought in a smart, experienced, and efficient quarterback. They surrounded him with an elite defense and a dominant run game. And boom, they went on a Super Bowl run and absolutely dominated on the biggest stage. Think back to that Eagles team. They weren't led by Mahomes-level talent at quarterback. Jalen Hurts is really good, don't get me wrong, but he's not in that elite, top-tier group with guys like Mahomes, Josh Allen, or Lamar Jackson. But what did Hurts do? He played clean football, minimized mistakes, distributed the ball efficiently, and let the defense and run game do the heavy lifting. Sound familiar, Steelers fans? That's the exact formula Pittsburgh is hoping to replicate. An elite defense with a nasty pass rush, a physical run game, and now a quarterback in Rodgers who, when healthy, can make all the throws and won't turn the ball over. And speaking of the run game, let's not overlook the plans for Caleb Johnson this year. The coaching staff is expecting him to have a breakout season. They're hoping he can be that workhorse back who takes pressure off Rodgers, keeps defenses honest, and helps control the clock. If Johnson can emerge as that type of player, this offense suddenly looks a lot more balanced and dangerous. Now, let's address the elephant in the room, the doubters. The people saying Rodgers is washed, over the hill, done. Let me just stop you right there. Let's actually look at the facts before jumping to conclusions. The last time Rodgers was fully healthy and playing at a high level was back in 2021. And what happened that year? Oh yeah, he won NFL MVP. Over 4,100 passing yards, 37 touchdowns, just 4 interceptions, and a QBR that was through the roof. That was vintage Aaron Rodgers. Then came 2022. And yeah, the numbers dipped. But why? Let's rewind the tape. Early that season, Rodgers suffered a broken thumb on his throwing hand during a game against the New York Giants in London. After that injury, the Packers went on a 5-game losing streak, and Rodgers clearly wasn't the same. Try throwing a football with a broken thumb and see how that goes. It's brutal. And let's not forget what happened that offseason. Davante Adams, his #1 target and one of the best receivers in the league, left for Las Vegas. Rodgers was left with Allen Lazard as his top wideout. And with all due respect, Lazard isn't striking fear into the hearts of defensive coordinators. The rest of the receiving core, Christian Watson and Romeo, were both rookies still learning the NFL game. Robert Tonyan was the third leading receiver in terms of yardage. That's not exactly an elite group of weapons. Fast forward to 2023. Rodgers makes the move to the New York Jets. The hype was off the charts. National media, Jets fans, everyone was talking Super Bowl. And what happens? 4 snaps into the season, boom, torn Achilles. Devastating. That injury basically erased an entire year for him. But again, that's not a reflection of declining skills. That's just a bad injury at the worst possible time. Then came 2024. Rodgers worked his way back from the Achilles tear, which by itself is impressive considering his age. And even though he played all 17 games, the situation in New York was an absolute disaster. First, they fired head coach Robert Saleh just 5 games into the season after a 2-3 start. Total organizational chaos. Then later that year, they fired offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett. 2 different play callers in one season. Complete instability. And it didn't stop there. The Jets' defense, which everyone thought was a top-tier unit, completely fell apart after Saleh was let go. They ranked 29th in points allowed per game, 30th in EPA per play allowed, and 29th in success rate allowed. That's bottom-of-the-league stuff across the board. And it wasn't just the defense. The run game was non-existent. They ranked 31st in rushing yards per game. Opposing defenses knew exactly what was coming every week. Rodgers was forced to drop back and throw against loaded boxes, with defenses pinning their ears back because they knew there was no run threat. To make matters worse, special teams were a disaster. The Jets ranked near the bottom of the league in field goal percentage, and the kicking game literally cost them multiple wins. Games where Rodgers had done enough to put them in position for victory, only to watch it slip away because the kicker couldn't convert. And let's not forget about Rodgers himself. He wasn't even close to 100%. Coming off that Achilles injury, he also battled a grade 2 hamstring strain, a partial tear, that limited his mobility. On top of that, he suffered a low ankle sprain and an MCL sprain in his knee. Yet despite all that, playing hurt and with chaos all around him, Rodgers still managed to throw 28 touchdown passes, matching Josh Allen's total for the year. No, I'm not saying he was on Allen's level in overall play, but that stat alone shows you Rodgers can still produce. The encouraging part for Steelers fans? Rodgers is now healthier than he's been in years. Healthier than he was going into the 2023 season with the Jets, and probably the healthiest he's been since that 2021 MVP campaign. Physically, he's as ready as he's going to be for one last run at a title. And here's the thing, Steelers Nation. Beyond just being healthy, Rodgers still has the arm talent. That's the #1 thing you look for when evaluating whether an aging quarterback still has it. Once the arm goes, it's game over. But with Rodgers, that's not the case at all. He still has that lightning-fast release, still puts zip on the ball without needing to muscle it, and still threads passes into tight windows that most quarterbacks wouldn't even attempt. His ball placement, his timing, his ability to manipulate defenses with his eyes, it's all still there. Even with all the injuries, chaos, and lack of support in New York last season, he was top 10 in big-time throws and ranked 5th in turnover-worthy play percentage. That tells you he's still seeing the field at an elite level and making throws that only a handful of quarterbacks in the league can make. Now let's talk fit. Rodgers and Arthur Smith's offensive system seem like a match made in football heaven. Smith runs a version of the Shanahan-style offense that's built on play action, throwing over the middle, and getting the quarterback under center more often. Sound familiar? That's the same style that Matt LaFleur used during Rodgers' MVP seasons in Green Bay. Rodgers thrives when he's working off play action, when the defense has to respect the run, and when he can use the middle of the field with rhythm throws. And now that he's physically healthier, there's every reason to believe he can execute at a high level in this system again. And the beauty of Smith's scheme? It won't ask Rodgers to do too much. The Steelers are going to lean on the run game. They're going to try and control time of possession. They'll ask Rodgers to manage the game, take care of the football, make smart decisions, and then, when needed, make the big throws that can flip a game. Rodgers still processes the field at an elite level. His time to throw last season was top 6 in the league, showing that he's getting the ball out fast and reading defenses quickly. His sack rate was also far better than what we saw from Russell Wilson and Justin Fields last year. And let's not forget, Rodgers still finished top 10 in total big-time throws despite everything working against him. The efficiency and playmaking ability are still there. And perhaps just as important as the XS and OS is the leadership factor. Let's be honest, New York was not the easiest place for Rodgers to thrive, especially with a head coach who struggled to manage a locker room full of strong personalities. But now, Rodgers lands in Pittsburgh with Mike Tomlin at the helm. Say what you want about Tomlin's in-game decisions sometimes, but when it comes to managing a locker room and keeping a team focused through distractions, there's almost nobody better in the NFL. Tomlin's mindset of rolling up the sleeves and going to work fits perfectly with where Rodgers is at in his career. No flashy promises, no media circus. They're just going to grind and let the results speak for themselves. And here's one more thing to think about. Rodgers doesn't need to be 2011 Aaron Rodgers for this to work. He doesn't need to be MVP Rodgers. He just needs to be better than what Pittsburgh has had in recent seasons. When your recent quarterback room includes names like Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph, Russell Wilson, and Justin Fields, the bar isn't exactly sky high. Even a slightly above-average version of Rodgers, supported by this defense and a competent run game, could be enough to push Pittsburgh from fringe playoff team to legitimate contender. Now the big question that everyone's debating, what defines success for the Steelers with Rodgers at quarterback? Some fans say it's Super Bowl or bust. Others just want to see a playoff win, something that's eluded this franchise for a while now. For me, it's simple. Get into the Super Bowl conversation. If by January, Pittsburgh feels like one of those 6 to 8 teams that truly has a shot to make a run, that's mission accomplished. The Steelers don't need to be the number 1 seed. They don't need to be Vegas favorites. They just need to be in that playoff bubble where anything can happen. And with Rodgers at the helm, playing smart, efficient football, surrounded by this defense and an improving offense, I absolutely believe that's within reach for the black and gold this season. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers are getting louder in Pittsburgh, and they carry a name that could shake up the AFC North, Terry McLaurin. Yes, that Terry McLaurin, the Washington Commanders' star wide receiver, known for his speed, crisp route running, and leadership on and off the field. According to league insiders and a growing buzz among NFL executives, the Pittsburgh Steelers may be exploring a bold and unexpected move to acquire the 28-year-old wideout in a trade that's being described behind the scenes as a potential Antonio Brown 2.0 moment for the franchise. While no official confirmation has emerged from either team, multiple sources close to the situation suggest that conversations have taken place. The Steelers are reportedly looking to make a splash this offseason, especially after a few underwhelming years at the wide receiver position. Despite having young talent like George Pickens, Pittsburgh hasn't quite found the consistent, game-changing presence they once enjoyed during Antonio Brown's peak years, and McLaurin might just be the answer. McLaurin, who has been a bright spot in an otherwise inconsistent Washington offense, could be intrigued by the idea of joining a team with a storied legacy and playoff aspirations. A move to Pittsburgh would give him the opportunity to be the definitive WR1 in a more stable organization, possibly reigniting his career and elevating a Steelers offense that has shown flashes but lacks a true elite target. Still, hurdles remain. McLaurin is under contract, and Washington would likely demand significant draft capital or a top-tier player in return. But the fact that this conversation is even happening is enough to make fans on both sides of the rumor mill sit up and take notice. Could the Steelers be ready to make the boldest move of the offseason? Is McLaurin the missing piece that turns Kenny Pickett's development into a breakout campaign? Nothing is certain yet, but one thing is clear. The idea of Terry McLaurin in black and gold is no longer just fantasy. It's a real possibility that's gaining traction by the day. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.